crypto market and the stock market. So much news and also quite around here, so I want to talk about that. And over the last few days, I'm going to give you a recap of the day that we have bottomed and is bottoming according to some of the metrics. And so far, we've had a lot of news and a lot of positive price action as well. Now, there's still lots of variety. It's a great day. I'm going to do that, cover some of that. Bitcoin and the overall crypto market as well. So big adoption. So if you don't mind me the like button, subscribe button, I appreciate that. So it's possible it is time sensitive. Also, there's a number to the Patreon here. So definitely check that out. We've also done a blog by we'll talk more about the blog by news and a great now, the cryptocurrency market is up 3%. Surprisingly, that's only up 3.3 because Bitcoin and Ethereum are up 5% themselves, while other cryptocurrencies are up more than that, like Spot and Dogecoin. Now, the stock market is also up, kind of a rally after we saw some of the bad news last week. You can see the Nasdaq up about 3%. We also have stocks like Tesla and a lot of the companies that are up 10 to 20%. Tesla's up 11%. They're my largest holding, besides, well, including Bitcoin. It's a larger position now that Bitcoin's fallen down so much, but Bitcoin's up 5%. These are just my 4 top holdings here. Google's up 5% and Amazon's up 2.6% even as a retailer, and those have been hit hard. Now this has been one of the worst years ever in stock market history. The S&P 500 is down 22.9% in the first 116 trading days of 2022. You can see the only time worse than this is 1932. Kind of show the price returns throughout the rest of the year. It's kind of across the board, different each year, but you can see that this has been one of the worst years ever. Now the price of Bitcoin is still significantly under the 200 week. We're about $1,200 or so away from that 200 week. Hopefully we can flip that back into support. That would be very similar to what we've done in the past, where we were below for between 1 to 2 weeks and then flipped right back above and then just sat in an accumulation zone for a while. You can also see the rolling liquidations, about $170 million liquidated in crypto over the last 24 hours, a lot on the short side. Now I just wanted to give you that information because it shows that the price action hasn't been too crazy over the last 24 hours or so, with a lot of people not really being forced out of positions. We saw a massive liquidation cascade last week, especially going into the weekend, and with a lot of institutional players being liquidated. Now it's a little bit calmer. Now, Alex Becker made a really good point that I want to cover before we get into some of the news here, but a lot of people aren't factoring in the fact that there's been so much money printed. He talks about how a stock going from $100 to $200 isn't actually gaining value if we doubled the money, right? Everything else eventually will gain twice the valuation as well. So he says the market isn't as up as we think it is. If $100 to $200 is actually the same price, expecting a total retrace to $100, which is $50 without inflation, is a bit overly bearish. He goes through how $1,100 ETH in 2017 is closer to possibly a $2,000 ETH now. So it's crashed way more than it did 4 years ago. Same thing with Bitcoin, right? If we hit 17,000 and we have double the amount of money out there, actually we hit 18,000, that would be the equivalent of hitting 9,000 in 2017 dollars. Therefore, a lot of people are overestimating where we'll crash to. A lot of people are saying 10,000 to 12,000, 14,000. A lot of people are waiting until those numbers to accumulate heavy. Now, I have heard a handful of people saying that they knew something, or that they had gone to consensus, heard some troubling things, and they think we are going to crash lower. Now, these are other YouTubers. I'm not sure exactly why they would say that unless there was some real reason for it. But even if there is some real reason for it, you never know what's going to happen. I have been accumulating myself, and I think these are pretty good numbers to be buying, right? We're still under the 200 week on Bitcoin, which is historic and doesn't happen very often. It has typically been a great time to buy, and a lot of other stocks are down pretty significantly as well. Now, we have the digital asset funds flow weekly report. I'll just cover this really quickly. This shows exactly what these large institutions are doing. You can see money is still flowing into Bitcoin, flowing out of Ethereum, shorting Bitcoin, and then you can see some of the other ones here as well. Money coming out, Polkadot, Cardano, Tron, etc. Now, that just shows that there's still a flight to safety, and it is really regional as well. $274 million coming out of a European fund. So kind of interesting to see how that goes. Now, Deloitte and NYDIG are setting up an alliance to help businesses adopt Bitcoin. So Deloitte, obviously one of the major 4 accounting firms, they partnered up with NYDIG to help companies of all sizes implement digital assets. Now, this is something that I thought was quite interesting. I didn't know how much these different top 4 accounting firms had gone into crypto until I really looked into it. I'll show you that here in a second, but they had found recently in a survey that 75% of retailers in the US plan to accept crypto or stablecoin within 2 years. They also had a study in March that highlighted the potential of Bitcoin as a base to create a cheaper and faster ecosystem for electronic fiat or central bank digital currencies. This sounds similar to what Stripe is trying to do and what they announced at Bitcoin, the Bitcoin conference. When digging into this a little bit deeper, I didn't realize that so many of these accounting firms have been focusing on this for years. This is from 5 years ago. 2 of the major 4 accounting firms now accept Bitcoin. So we know PricewaterhouseCoopers, Deloitte, and also we have another company, KPMG, that have all gone into crypto in the last couple of years and up to 5 years ago. Now, moving on from that, I think that's great for adoption just because these companies work with so many other companies, right? They're going to be able to help them get into crypto in a solid regulatory way. We do have to move on, though, from that to some of the top news with VeChain, Cardano, and Solana. VeChain is excited to share VIP 220 is live on the private testnet, a huge milestone towards our revolutionary POA 2.0 consensus mechanism upgrade. Now, this is big. This is the testnet for their new 2.0. VIP introduces finality, combining the strengths of the common consensus types while eliminating weaknesses. So this is a good step in the right direction for VeChain. I used to hold VeChain. I sold it off right before everything really dropped and put it into Bitcoin. You can see that they've had some pretty rough price action over the last couple months. They're down to 2 cents. They're up to 17 or so last fall. But this is good that they're still building and still getting closer to where they want to go moving forward and into the next bull run. Fact is, they are still a great large crypto. They're still in the top 50. They're still a good quality crypto that has a lot of news coming out all the time. For example, they just teamed up with the UFC and had a $100 million strategic deal. So they are spending money on marketing. They also have some news that they are seeking European expansion with new headquarters. Now, like I said, I'm not buying right now. If we fall further and further into this bear market, I wouldn't mind picking up some VeChain, but I will probably be more focused on other cryptocurrencies, but they are announcing a lot recently. Then some bad news for Cardano. We have Cardano developers delaying the Vassal upgrade, citing bugs. So they didn't end up releasing the Vassal hard fork on the testnet because of too many bugs. They're pushing back now for a late June release on the test network. Now, that's pretty par for the course. A lot of these different cryptos do push these back. And as you can see, it hasn't really affected Cardano's price movement too much over the last 24 hours. They're still up about 2.3%. And then a little update on Solana. I covered this yesterday talking about the Solend protocol and what they were trying to do to manipulate a whale's wallet. Now they're in contact with a whale and they're working on a solution that doesn't include taking over his wallet and slowly liquidating his funds. So I think that is a step in the right direction just for Solend in general. And the whale has already started to move funds. So they're going to move the liquidity across multiple lenders. I think this will be good. It alleviates some of the price volatility from Solana, and Solana is up on this news and just up in general. They've actually had a really good last 7 days. Now, I sold half of my Solana yesterday, like I said. I don't regret this because honestly, I missed out on about a 3 or 4% move on Solana, and that was because I put it into Bitcoin anyway. So I've had a great return on Bitcoin over the last 24 hours as well. And this still just takes some of the potential downside away. In case we do go back to the downside, the fact is that Solana probably will go down more than Bitcoin. Bitcoin's still on the last 7 days down about 5%, while Solana's up 36%. So there's still about 40% difference on the last 7 days. So I don't mind moving a little bit of my Solana over to Bitcoin in the short term. I still like Solana long term, which is why I held half, and I will look at moving that back in if we go a little bit deeper into the bear market, or if it's much more obvious that we come out of the bear market. So overall, pretty good day overall in crypto. We have a lot of price rebounds. Now, we did get some news from BlockFi as well. Just like Voyager, they signed a term sheet with FTX to secure a $250 million revolving credit facility, providing them with access to capital that further bolsters their balance sheet and platform strength. They're intended to be contractually subordinate to all client balances across all account types and will be used as needed. This is just to help them with market volatility. Now, I am a partner of BlockFi, or BlockFi is a partner of mine, and I think this is good news just to protect everyone's funds. It's not exactly what you want to see, that these kinds of companies need this, but the fact is this does stop them from being in trouble with clients trying to redeem funds and stuff like that. And that's why I have kept my funds over still on BlockFi. Now, BlockFi is a lot less aggressive with some of their rates that they give you, so I've always thought that it was a little bit safer to go with BlockFi as opposed to some other kinds of exchanges. They're not offering 12% or anything like that on USDC. And they also are working with the government now to try to work to some agreement on how to get these interest accounts back up and running, which obviously there's more risk in that now in a bear market than there is in a bull market, but hopefully they can come through with some solution by the time that the market starts turning around, and hopefully there's less risk in it as well. Now, like I said, the whole market has turned around a decent amount today. That's good news. I'm happy that everyone can take a little bit of a breather. Now, don't get me wrong, there could be further downside, but we are at historic levels. This has been the worst year, second worst year ever for the S&P 500 this far into the year, and the crypto market has obviously fallen too. And as I said, right, this has been even worse from the fact that we have had so much money pumped into the system that to see us go down to old levels is really saying something, right? A lot of people are sitting on cash, and a lot of liquidity, or a lot of leverage, I should say, has been flushed out of the system. Now, let me know your thoughts on this underneath the video. Let me know what altcoins you're most interested in, or if you're just buying Bitcoin. Let me know if you're buying stocks too. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Check out the links to Patreon and to BlockFi, and I'll see you in the next one.